Can we become addicted to anxiety? Isn't that a fascinating question? I think most people would say no, right? Most people would say no. Anxiety is the end result of something else, but we can't become addicted to it. Hey, I'm David Essel, and guess what? We can become so addicted to anxiety, depression. We can become addicted to insomnia. And I know people think I'm crazy when I first say this, right? But listen, as someone who struggled for a very long time with generalized anxiety disorder and depression and a bunch of other stuff, I know that we can become addicted to it. But how does that happen? How does one become addicted to anxiety? Well, first of all, we have to remember this. Anxiety is a response system, especially something like generalized anxiety disorder, which is something someone feels every day, is that when we are involved with something like anxiety and we feel it every day and we don't have solutions for it, this is the key. We're not actively working on releasing that anxiety. That anxiety or the feeling gets tucked into the subconscious mind, and then we create an identity. What is an identity with anxiety? It'd be, well, I'm just always an anxious person, or I always get nervous before this, or I'm always nervous about that, or, well, what's coming up, and I'm always nervous. See, we create an anxiety that creates the addiction. And in the subconscious, what we're doing is feeding it these messages, even if you don't say a thing to anyone else. But you constantly say, oh my God, whenever I go over a bridge, I'm very anxious. And let's say you go over a bridge all the time. Well, guess what's going to happen? I'm always anxious around crowds of people. And when I work with people to help them diminish social anxiety or learn how to speak in front of a group when they're petrified of being with people, they've created an identity. The identity around anxiety. That identity is, I am anxiety itself. I am always anxious about X, Y, or Z. See, that's the identity. And here's the thing. As it continues to race around the brain unabated meaning we're not doing anything to shatter that anxiety cycle, the addiction sets in. The more we repeat about our own anxiety, the more the anxiety becomes us. Then anxiety owns us, and it becomes a full-blown addiction. Here's the other thing we have to remember. Procrastination creates anxiety. So if you procrastinate all the time over doing certain things, like let's say writing bills at the end of the month, and you're late and you get charged late fees and all that kind of stuff, the anxiety around the bills turns into procrastination that increases the anxiety. Does this all make sense? I hope it does, because it's so crucial to know this. I was just on the phone with a client of mine, and I was talking to him about anxiety, and he was saying that he always procrastinates with the mail. So he said, there could be a check in there for $1 million, but I kept pushing the pile of mail aside because I don't want to look at the bills and I don't want to look at that other stuff. That creates anxiety. His procrastination creates anxiety. And when I said, does that make you feel anxious? He said, of course it does, right? Of course it makes me feel anxious. We've created that anxiety. So anxiety then becomes an addiction for this person via his procrastination. If he, and I know he will, shatter his procrastination, the anxiety will fall away with it. Isn't that fascinating? I had the same thing with bills for years. I kept putting them off, and it created anxiety because at the end of the month, I'm furiously writing out checks. And now every time a bill comes in, I have a 24-hour rule that I have to send the bill out with a check in 24 hours. Now, I'm one of those old dinosaurs. I still do all my bills via check, as many as I can. I don't like online banking. So, but the minute it comes in, bam, it's paid for. And I don't feel the anxiety anymore. When we work with military, there's oftentimes retired, when a veteran comes home and retires, is that there's an amazing amount of anxiety around, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Or I can't find a job. And then our identity comes around, I can't find a job, no one will hire me. I can't find a job, no one will hire me. And then that repeated phrase of anxiety becomes an addiction that blows up. And then we can procrastinate applying for jobs. We have a veteran that I worked with for about 6 months, same situation, filled with anxiety. And of course, his doctor put him on all of these anti-anxiety meds, which did nothing but numb him out. 6 months later, he comes back and says, David, I just got off the meds. What the hell am I going to do now? And he was filled with anxiety. He was about to go back on the meds when we said to him, let's set up a daily action plan. And I'll never forget this with my father. When my father was let go of a job, and I'm going to guess he was maybe about 40, he went into this outrageous period of anxiety. He had 3 kids, a wife to feed, he had no money coming in. And it's funny, his doctor said, I want you on the golf course every morning from 8 to 9. Or no, 7:30 to 8:30. It was 7:30 to 8:30. I want you driving golf balls. Get your mind clear. Focus on something else. Then when you get home at 9 o'clock, I want you to apply for jobs from 9 to 5. This is your new job. It's an 8-hour job. Do you know that turned it all around for my dad, and he got a great job at Syracuse University? But his anxiety was blocking him from even looking for work. He was so worried about finding a job that a lot of the days he wasn't applying as much as he could. Listen, if you're a first responder, my gosh, we have a great first responder coming on my radio show this Saturday. But if you're a first responder, really pay attention to this too. The anxiety that you're facing over the last couple years at the least creates a cycle, an addiction cycle. And we have first responders. I've got several I'm working with right now, a nurse, a doctor, I've got an EMT, I've got a caregiver who we consider first responders, and they're all going through our program to diminish anxiety. This is something crucial. We can become addicted to anxiety, but we can also become free. If I can help you at all, I'm going to post all these links below. We have the links for firstresponders.org to help first responders, helpveteransheal.org. We've got that. I'll put that below. And if you're not a member of a military or a veteran, you're not a first responder, then work with me one-on-one, and we will take you through and encourage you to release those habits that are creating anxiety and bring in new ones, okay? I'm David Essel. Have a beautiful day.